Yep, 7:01.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, January 17th. This is the advisory committee meeting. Tonight's agenda includes the Planning Board and Board of Appeals, Economic Development Committee, the Human Services and Safety Committee, Council on Aging, and then Minuteman. So, without further ado, Erica, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Do you have a copy of my budget?
I do. Let's hope what you have is the same as what we have.
I believe it is. I haven't made any modifications since I gave it to you.
175.
I know, but I'm looking at the stapled one we just got.
Oh, that's for Council on Aging.
No, yesterday.
All right.
So I also did a breakdown for the budget.
Yes.
I actually modified it today, so I might as well just give you a copy of it.
Okay.
For that.
Thank you.
It's not major changes here, but at least we'll be looking at the same thing.
Thank you.
Alright, so essentially it's a level funded budget, similar to last year. The total amount is $60,397. The breakdown for wages, $55,677.
I've had the COLA in there, so that's why yours will be a little bit higher than what
Okay.
Erica has.
All right.
Okay.
So,
What is your
We
number?
have 56,800.
You want their number.
5608?
No, 56,800.
808.
Okay.
808.96.
Oh, 809. Don't forget that 96 cents.
56.
My wife says spot 9 cents. I don't know. She's always throwing numbers with spot. Does that ring a bell? No?
Is that like period or dot?
Yeah. All right.
So purchasing services, 1,300, same as actually it's slightly less than last year. No.
Same.
Yeah, same. Sorry. Advertising, same as last year, $520. Supplies, I've bumped up slightly to $360 from $250. In-state travel, I've reduced from $450 to $400. Dues, it's slightly more. It was $1,610. Now it'll be $1,640, and that's just because of the magic do. I think it slightly changed for the next year. And then for meetings, I've allocated $500, and I've reduced that from $600 last year.
So, Ninotchka, I mean, we just threw out Erica's number to the, crowd. I try and, we do our best to try and keep the number down at the risk of that. On the supporting information, that's showing a COLA of 5.08%.
Well, she has a step and a COLA.
Okay.
Some people,
That's
you'll
where I
only
was-
see a COLA because they're at their top step.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because I thought it was commensurate across the board, but the numbers are different, so that's, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
why.
And then I got a question about meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it was 2015, it was over 5, but the next 2 years it was under 4. What's this year look like so far? And then why do you need the increase to 5? I know it looks like, yes, you're asking for less than you did in 2018, but your spend is less than the 500. If it's less than 400. I was just wondering,
Yeah, I mean, essentially it's a budget,
just don't
so I
know?
just look at, I don't know for sure. I mean, I look at what potential meetings I would be going to that would cost money, workshops, seminars, and I kind of come up with, okay, this might be valuable for me to attend, so I'm going to include it in the budget. Whether it's, whether it gets approved at 500, 400, 300, I'll make do with what I have, to be honest with you. But that's kind of, how I.
But this generally would be a plan of what you would be interested in, and that your agenda will drive whether you go or not, right?
Correct. And then I've also included the Citizen Planner Training Collaborative Workshops. I consider those not just for myself, but for the board, for them to have an opportunity to learn more about, for example, subdivision or site plan review. I know Michael Gore last year took advantage of one of those, so.
Does Eric Nyland take advantage of that, or is he just?
He just knows everything, so.
Oh, he already knows
He already
everything.
knows.
Really?
No, he could if he wanted to.
Yeah.
He's behind you.
I didn't respond to that.
I'm sorry to say it like that. All right. Other questions? 175?
What is purchase of services? Wait a minute, you explained that here. Okay.
Yeah,
Hired
so I
consultants?
can give you examples of what we use.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
That's what you're asking.
What's up? What, you got?
Oh, I was just also looking at in-state travel. I guess it's the same thing as your meetings. You've been pretty low spending on that. See, I just don't, we're trying to get this as close to actual as possible. So to me, it's almost like saying, well, in case I want to go to this one, and in case I want to go that one, I have the money in my budget. But if I don't go, I don't go. But, if it comes up, it comes up. But it doesn't seem like it's been coming up over the past 1, 2, 3 years. And maybe 4, I don't know what this year is looking like. So that's where I am.
I'm
Or just
happy
those
to,
couple
honestly,
of
I'm happy
things.
to reduce the, if that would be advisory happier.
Well, it's-
Some of these I definitely attend. Sometimes I just don't expense my mileage either, which I need to be better at.
Erica.
Yeah.
Not expensive.
yeah, not-
For example, Magic meetings, I always attend those. The 495 Country Rose Partnership meetings, I go to those. The other ones are a little more, elective. Sometimes I go, sometimes I don't, depending on what they're going to be discussing, so.
So you're talking basically a $400 budget for in-state travel.
But
What was it for last year? What did I?
450. was
So
last year.
it's
So you
less than
know-
last year, so she's reduced some.
800 miles, 50 cents.
Well, it was a question.
Mileage went up a penny.
And then you have,
Yeah, I mean, so the bottom line is in-state travel so far to date, we're effectively halfway through the year, December expense ledger,
and it's going to be
spend
costing.
$76. So I'm sure you spend more because you just mentioned you
I should-
don't
I
always,
shouldn't have said that either.
yeah.
No, I'm fine with it.
All right.
I'm happy to reduce it for more.
No.
We would
What-
rather not have you use your own money. That's important.
Yeah, that
If you're
is,
winning the lottery next
Yeah,
week, don't
right.
use your own money.
yeah. And then, it's a number, I mean, to me, it is tied to education, and yes, it's uncertain. As much as these organizations plan out what they're gonna try and do, the agenda is always up for grabs on what it's gonna be, and then, even then, it can always change, so you can pull, a late minute, plug on that. I mean, to me, I feel as though, in this particular case, it really is snowflake off an iceberg,
Yeah.
and,
I have a
Well, I
question.
don't know, if I
I-
could shave off
No, I know.
$900 from everybody's budget at the end of the day, I don't know how much would I have? How many departments do we have?
I know.
I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, yeah.
But it's not strictly about the budget,
No.
my question. It's just about the Green Communities grant.
Okay.
Are you the one, is your department the one that's responsible for?
I am, yes.
Okay. Could you just explain whether any of that grant money offsets any of this, or how does I think we've got $35,000 so far this year.
Right, that has nothing to do with the planning board budget.
So
That-
then,
That has to do with funding energy efficiency projects in town. So basically, that $35,000 is part of what we received for a designation grant, which was $141,000. And that's going to be used to replace the boiler at the Sawyer Elementary School, as well as we did some weatherization projects in the library. So that's what that's for.
So that's for energy efficient upgrades.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we'll continue to do that over the next couple of years. Do competitive
Theoretically,
grants.
has a return on the investment.
Exactly.
So, thank you for bringing that up. Last evening, we had school committee in here, and they shared with us. Thank you, Florence Sawyer and Emerson Capital Planning. One of them is this boiler, cost of $190,000. Now, are you saying that?
So there's two boilers at Florence Sawyer. One of them, we were able to use the green community money to replace.
Okay.
The other one is
Is
old
this?
and needs to be replaced as well.
Okay.
I don't know if that's, I don't know if that number, but it's fair to say that they do need to replace it.
And that's fine. There's just so many things going on. I just want to make sure
That
it's
you're
not
talking.
being, so that
Yeah.
you seem very confident that it's two different things, which is
It's two
fine.
different things, but there are areas that may intertwine. For example, a piece of the boiler project that could fall under green community is they need to upgrade their control system for the
Right,
heat.
Exactly.
That seems
So
to be.
that,
That's what they're talking
I'm
about.
hoping next year to apply through the competitive grant round with green community to fund that.
Mhm.
So I need to be talking with their facilities director to make sure that, let's take that off the table for now, because we might be able to get grant money to do that. But the actual boiler, yes, they're gonna, and I think that's probably pretty high for just one.
Yeah, and you can see what they're planning on,
Yeah.
Erica. I mean, here's the total, right? And they've kind of laid it out, the game plan as what they're describing. Again, and this was not, they haven't even presented to school committee, so they're gonna be doing that later, right? But here's what they're thinking of, how they're gonna pay for this thing over the course of this time period. And you're right, they mentioned something about control replacement. So the fact that you are aware of this, you're gonna be talking to facilities, and you're gonna be able to potentially step in to assist to maybe reduce and alleviate, fabulous.
Right.
So this,
See,
This is what we're-
what we want to see.
communication
this is,
across-
exactly, yes.
One other thing I just wanted to add, so I think this is super helpful and I love that you included it. One favor, or I
Yeah.
guess thing for you to consider
Sure.
is next year, if you're able to also list out the competitive grants that you've actually successfully
Sure.
applied for, because I think that really demonstrates the value that you bring to the planning board. And
Sure.
I know last year.
Town
some-
collectively.
Yeah, and some of the grants, I think it was one of the articles that we had anticipated spending a lot of money on.
It's probably related to the boiler project.
Yeah, I mean, so it's,
Yeah.
I think it's just really helpful to remind us when we're sitting here, because we're so focused on the spend, and we very easily forget, like, oh wow, actually Erica brought in this incredibly valuable grant. So just,
It's not ever on one page, the cost savings.
yeah,
Other
so I think
funding
that'd be
mechanisms.
I
helpful.
can certainly do that,
But thank you for.
so, yeah, yeah. And actually, I've recently talked to Rob, who's the interim facilities director,
Yes.
and we need to get on the same page with what the scope of work is for that control system, because we were trying to include it with this current grant, but it ended up costing too much money, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page with what they want and what we
Yeah,
thought was needed, so hopefully. we can
Yeah.
figure that out.
and I'm sure you heard about the new septic system that we get to,
The leach.
The leach
fields
field.
that we get to,
The high school.
pay for.
Oh, wait, no, the high school?
Yeah,
I thought you
it
meant
is.
the upgrades that they did to the.
No, it's a whole new $300,000 bill that we
By
get to,
end of September.
yeah, that we get
Oh
to.
my gosh.
So, any ideas on that? Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve 175
Can I
Planning
make a
Board
motion?
as is.
Second.
Ann and Joe, all in favor, say aye. Aye, those opposed? All right. Okay,
Board of Appeals, did you want to?
yes, ma'am, yeah, 176, it's a killer. If it's at the risk of, being a little premature, I'm gonna, entertain a motion to approve as is 176.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed? All right. Yeah, Erica, that would be great. I mean, were you also involved with the grant related to the cell tower? No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and it's always very helpful. Very much appreciate what you do. We're gonna, at the risk of, I just realized, at the risk of, this is probably not a good idea. You guys you're lining up a fairly healthy number of warrant articles.
Yeah, you probably need to increase the budget for our 30-page articles.
Yeah. So you know what, but we definitely need to have you guys back in. When we do get you on the agenda, I would say any advance data you can forward to us so we can hopefully be somewhat prepared to attempt to understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Certainly, yeah. Actually, the
Like
draft articles are already
Legal
on.
translator. I know you guys love your lawyer.
The draft articles actually are already on the town's website under planning, so you can always go there and take a quick look at them.
Okay.
But understanding of this.
Yeah. So,
Completely
We can
understood.
explain them to you.
yeah. So do you guys foresee, radical additions to those?
Oh,
Oh.
to what's there? No.
No.
No,
All right. So what's there is likely going to be
pretty
there.
good shape, yeah.
It's unlikely there'll be any additional ones. Okay.
No.
All right.
We are having an informational session at our next meeting on next Wednesday, January 24th at 7 o'clock, so if anyone's interested in coming. I think we're gonna do like a PowerPoint presentation to kind of go through each article, so.
And as you were explaining your budget, you mentioned something about, energy, green community. Are you able to share any additional ideas that you're looking at, not just from a grant perspective, but just actual, creation of project? The reason why I asked you that, last night, this committee started talking about revenue ideas. Brian mentioned it to you. We often are so heavily focused on the cost and saving side of the house. And I know the departments, we ask an awful lot of you, and you guys do an awful lot with what we give you. And so I feel as though this town has more of a revenue problem than a cost problem to some degree. Are you able to share from a just big picture, planning board
Yeah.
perspective,
From planning
things
board-
like that,
from
what
planning
we
board's
might be able to try and
perspective?
accomplish with Bolton?
The grant opportunities that I look at obviously are related to planning purposes. So, for example, right now we're looking at we are developing a complete streets policy, and that's a funding program through Mass DOT. So if that gets adopted by Board of Selectmen and is approved by Mass DOT, essentially we could have an opportunity to get up to $400,000 in funding to do improvements to our roads. That's a big deal.
But that's
We're
spend
working
money
on
to
that.
get money. So what are we gonna need to
Spending
spend
money.
to get 400,000 of?
You have to design your project, basically. So, if we decide there needs to be certain upgrades to 117, we have to hire an engineer to come in, design those plans. Once they're ready for construction, we can go to Mass DOT and say, we're ready.
It's amazing
Okay,
how you
here's-
pick 117. That's such a novel concept.
But that to me is, we're gonna have to do it regardless. You're gonna have to do the engineering regardless. So to me, it's still an opportunity, it's still a good thing, to be getting this money from Mass. Why not? Every other community is doing it, why not us? That's one example. It's tough when you say, revenue generation, because a lot of things that I work on, I don't necessarily look at it from that perspective. Just last week, actually, I found out that we were awarded $25,000 from the state to create an ADA transition plan. So basically, we're going to be looking at all our municipal buildings and the elementary schools to make sure that they're ADA compliant. So again, it's not related to revenue generation.
No,
but it's
because
still
that's another
grant
spend money to get.
But it still needs to be done. I mean, we should be ADA compliant. That's
Yeah.
important. I mean, that was, something that we should have been looking at in the 90s. So again, we have to create the plan. Why not get grant money to do it?
Erica, isn't part of the rationale behind the cottage overlay bylaw not necessarily revenue generating, but at least expanding the tax base in some
Good.
creative ways?
Exactly.
So actually, I don't know if you want to get into, I don't want to get into if you don't want to get into the bylaw, that's fine, but I talked to you about the revenue implications of it. I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, you're welcome to join. I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking with you next on EDC, and we had the conversation last night while you guys are here. We just wanted to,
Yeah.
have a little bit, and again, to me, it is about thinking about that. We've really been trying to talk to all the departments about a 5-year plan. And so it's also having, multiple organizations talk with one another. You made the perfect example. I need to make sure that I get back in front of the facilities director, right? Eric and I have had conversations offline about, the work EDC does with, in concert with the planning board, but also, we know with Parks and Recreation. I've, shared some things with Eric around, EDC and Parks and Recreation talking, agriculture. So that's where I'm getting at. So, yeah.
So if you, just while we're on planning, when Brian brought that up, I kind of did these numbers out. So this is, I won't go into the bylaw of the cottage overlay, but this is the implications of it financially. This is numbers that I kind of did out, so I wouldn't say it's like planning board approved. It's just kind of, it's going to be part of my presentation. It's Eric.
For the time being, it's Eric. All right.
It's Eric approved. So, town-wide, we're 0.61 school-age children per household. But in what we see, we had 4 hearings the other night. In the new developments, 4-bedroom, 3,500 plus square foot houses. I looked at Century Mill Estates and I looked at Northwoods, and with those combined, there's 76 school-age children and 68 houses. So instead of 0.61 school-age children, it's 1.12. I took the total assessed value of all those houses, which came out to an average of $787,000. So the average tax per house at 22 per thousand is $17,324. So after talking to the school board, even though if you go look at the state, the cost per child is like $13,000 after state aid and everything like that, it's $10,500. So if you multiply that times the 1.12 and you subtract it out for the taxes, what you ended up in a net revenue from each house. If you want to look at what it costs to send the kids to school, is about $5,588. So that's the net revenue from each house. So I said in a 10-house subdivision, you gain $55,000 out of it.
Yeah.
So now if you take our cottage overlay, which gives density bonuses for dwellings, it's to try to entice developers to create either an over 55 or or it has to be a majority over 55 or some just for like first-time home buyers, people out of college, people without maybe just one kid, something like that. So, I'll get into this when we talk about the overlay, but, you'd end up with a smaller house, like 2,000, a 2,000 square foot dwelling, 2-bedroom house. And so I put it at $450,000, and at the same tax rate, so that's like $9,900. All right, so now we get into a couple of scenarios of what the cottage overlay can do. So with the minimum over 55, the way the density bonuses work out is you would end up with 20, and so in the same place where there would be a 10 subdivision house, there would be 20 over 55 dwellings and 10 non-over 55. And so if you do out the math, you end up with 192,000 versus 55,000. So that's a gain of 136,000 in revenue. If it's all over 55 with the density bonuses, you actually end up with, that should say, my number, it says 20 over 55, it should say 40 over 55. But with the 40 over 55 dwellings in that same place where a standard 10-house subdivision would go, you would end up with 396,000. If they were 450,000 each.
Yeah.
So that would be a difference of $340,000 in revenue. So, not only does this bylaw add diversity so people can graduate to over 55, or we can get younger people in without kids, but it's also a pretty big revenue implication too, so. I mean,
Okay.
this is one of our key bylaws this year, so we hope that it'll pass town meeting.
All right.
So,
Answer your question?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah.
really helpful.
That was cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Those are numbers that are likable. There's what we always do.
yeah,
Aside from the numbers, getting that kind of mix in the community is good too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Huh. It's a win-win until it goes to the.
Let's wait until we get to town meeting.
Yeah. No, no.
and then we're also looking at the coverage of a business, like lot, the percentage, the square footage coverage of the building could have versus the
Are
overall
you increasing
land.
it?
We're gonna try to increase it, yeah.
Okay.
So that, if you just say raw, if you double, we're never gonna make residential lots, business lots, it'll be tough, But to, say we double the utilization of those.
Available that are already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's.
So it won't be a direct, this year we're gonna see that, but if people start building to that, and if current businesses can expand on their
The lot
their
that they
building.
have, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If Paragon or Cobham could expand.
Yep. Okay.
And then, of course, everybody's favorite marijuana bylaws and the taxes that come up with that, so.
Yeah.
That could be a huge number if we ever got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have the ability, or are you going to attempt to do a similar type of analysis to tie it to that bylaw?
Yeah, we could do something, it's tough, well, we could look at what other grow facilities, I think Sterling might have put one in, but it's based on the revenue generated. So marijuana is 3%, 3% automatically on the gross, is that it? And then there's 3% optional that the town works out with a deal with them. So it could be up to 6% of $1 million grow facility, multi-million dollar grow facility. So it could be a ton of money. If the town wants that. But
Yeah.
based on our survey, it's pretty much 50-50, and we need 2/3, so it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. But I think if you're, maybe it's just because I'm a numbers guy. I think, that type of analysis,
It's healthy.
as opposed to just thinking about, the stank in the air, or the supposed stank in the air, right?
Can't be
If
worse
there's
than a
also
pig
some numbers, I'm right with it. But you know what the.
Maybe it'll cure your glaucoma while you walk
You
by.
know what the commentary will be.
Get high.
So, yeah, to me, what you guys were able to do here to show the benefits of what,
Yeah.
to me, that could be helpful on that other bylaw. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so Eric, you are 182 on the EDC. All right. So, your money's in purchase of services. The breakdown that you've shared with us, there's a breakfast that you guys put on. There's the Bolton brochure, printing, social
Here,
media.
if you guys want to look at it.
And I think I asked you this last year. This is on the town website, under your page.
The PDF of it?
Yeah.
I didn't initially put it on there. No, it's not on there right now, but I could put it on.
Yeah.
But actually, so we printed out 1,000 this year.
Okay.
And they mainly were going through Neshoba. But in talking to them, pretty much every other person who goes there is, where's there a restaurant, where's this? And they were just handing them out. You know, because everybody's coming from out of town.
Yeah, so are you sticking these in like kiosks in the Boston area?
We have, we just pass them out at orchards and stuff local.
So do you have all the restaurants listed?
Yep.
Okay, that's a good piece of data we can.
Right,
Yes.
you know those like mid-level hotels, right along 128?
Mm-hmm.
As you're walking in and out of the entrance, they always have that whole board of pamphlets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
1,000 brochures, we can go very far.
I know, but could you, when you get a chance, add that to the town website?
Yeah, sure.
That's
Definitely.
very nice. Good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you. So that's part of it, and then the breakfast is, you know, it was $600 this year, but it was a really great meeting. We had, you know, people from the state, you know, local businesses, lots of information. It's kind of a way to show businesses and people that potentially want to have a business here that, hey, you know, we're welcoming, we want you here, you know, versus the feeling of
Yeah,
we're shut off, so.
okay.
And I think I said to you on email that I saw in the 2017 budget that there's only 250 listed, but that's because the bill didn't get paid, so it's going to have to be a separate article. It got,
Oh, yeah, okay.
but yeah, so we're asking for the 1,000 again.
Questions for Eric?
Just a question about the website, the Destination Bolton, which I think is awesome. Like, you
Yeah.
guys did an amazing job.
Yeah, we just released that this year.
Yeah. So is that fully paid for, or does some of the $100 in marketing and social media go to like? sort of
Well,
marketing or-
The person who hosts it keeps threatening that they're going to charge us, but they haven't really, they keep on letting us off the,
Okay.
you know, it's only like 150 for the year,
Yeah.
but they've not, they haven't really billed us yet, so.
Yeah.
But that would be the
Great
most
job.
it would be. You know, Lisa Miller used to be on the EDC. She does, she has a web, she works in Hudson now, and lives in Hudson, but she created that, and she did an awesome job with it.
Yeah.
So even if we can, is that link to that website on the town website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other questions? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve EDC 182 for $1,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Okay.
Oh, while Eric's here, did you want to mention
Oh, I was going to ask
Deals.
about that.
Yes, yeah, go right
So the
ahead.
EDC, I heard you, I watched the meeting
Oh, okay.
yesterday. The EDC hasn't really taken us, we haven't really talked about it, but we could do some research on it if you would like.
Yeah, you know, I feel as though we do need more research. I don't think it should just be being driven from the accountant and
Yep.
advisory.
Why not?
Yeah, and I feel a greater consensus could be helpful. No doubt, there's a concern on the existing business already in place on upsetting them.
Yeah.
So we'd want to reach out, get them up to speed.
I mean, I kind of agree with Ted, because it's not necessarily going to be an impact to the business, it'll be an impact to the people, you know, attending that restaurant.
Exactly.
But if
But also to
everything,
what
if we're
degree?
surrounded by towns that have it, then,
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, to what degree, right, it is an individual decision for a person to go out to eat, right?
Mhm.
And yes, they can do it in town, and they can support local businesses, and they're not gonna get charged a meal tax, and it's $1 on every $100, right?
yeah.
Or they go to another town, and they support another town, and they're also paying another town's meals tax,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
Brian, did I hear that you looked at, like, how much of the meals, the current state tax that they get from Bolton? Did you
So
have that number?
what the website provides is they project what Bolton would get from a 0.75%
Oh, okay.
tax, and that would have been for FY 2016 would have been just a little bit more than $60,000.
That's more than what I thought, because it's only like 7 restaurants.
Right.
But I think
Did
most
they
of
give
them
the
don't.
methodology? Because we were noodling around with those numbers, and I'm not gonna go through it here, but it raises some interesting questions.
Even if it were half, it's still revenue.
Yeah.
It's more than we make now.
I'm sure they do.
I mean, maybe you can send me a link to it, or, I
Yep.
mean, I'll be glad to chase it, but need a little direction.
Yeah, I actually had it on our last agenda, but we lost our quorum, so we didn't have a meeting, but I'll make sure we talk about it at the next meeting and how we can research it.
Great. Any other questions for Rick? All right, thank you. All right, Human Services and Safety, 590. Hello,
Hi, I'm Laura Roberts.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. All right, so let's find
What was
this.
the number again?
590.
590.
And just so you know, Linda sent us a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
but we don't have a hard copy.
Okay,
Um,
can I pass it around?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be great.
That'd be great.
Alright. So this will look less than what you have.
Thank you.
I'm gonna use the passing things around the table.
Alright. So I am not even officially chair yet, but Pat resigned sometime last week, so I took over and had a brief meeting with Brian and took a look at the budget, and a couple of things that have been on my mind are related to the Squarespace website that we've had in the past. I took a look at that, and last year we had 114 visitors to that website. And so I feel like moving our content over onto the town's website would be more beneficial to us. We'll get more traffic there.
Sure.
So
And you heard me asking the guy before you a whole mess about those questions about, is it on the town website?
School committee meeting.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I missed it.
It's like you were foretelling the future.
Okay, great. And then the other thing is the Survey Monkey subscription, which was $350, and we, I think we might have done one survey last year. And so that, I know I've heard the town website has an integrated survey tool. I also work at WPI and have access to a survey tool that's similar to Survey Monkey that could be used for the town if we needed to do another survey, but we aren't doing a lot of robust surveying, so it seems like a little overkill at this point. So, so with that, it's $514 less than what we had for our budget, which is significant for this particular budget. And then I did move around printing. We do a resource guide, which a lot of people really love getting the big font printed resource guide, so I want to keep doing that for people who need it, but I'd like to kind of create a paper-saving bifold version that would save some paper, save some printing costs, and maybe it's abbreviated a bit, because we do put them in every welcome packet that goes out, but my thinking is that most of the people moving in are not thumbing through that resource guide, so if we just have an abbreviated version that then points them to the full guide on the town website, we can
What
drive more
about
traffic there.
doing that bifold as a PDF instead of printing them out as needed rather
We
than
do,
going
yeah.
to or don't you go to a printer?
We go to a printer now, and we do print them as needed. We print them when Bolton Local tells us we're gonna make another 100
Okay.
welcome packets
Oh,
to
right.
restock our welcome packets, and then we print 100 and hand them off to them. So, so for the next printing, we do a bifold and save some printing costs there. And so I moved 200 out of that printing budget up to the forum costs. Over the last year, there were a few forums that we kind of wanted to have, but it would have required a small fee to the speaker, and so we didn't do it. For example, we wanted to do one that was related to water safety and pool safety, just in advance of the summer, and targeted to like kids and parents, but it would have been like a $150 fee for the speaker, and so we didn't do it. So if we had a little bit of money in that warrant thing, that wouldn't be a setback for us. We were looking at maybe self-defense, a babysitter's course, things like that.
So, you know, to that point, and at the risk of you saying that you just took over as chair,
Right.
could you back up just a little bit and say, what is the mission? What are you guys charged with? Who are your customers? Who are you reaching out to? I mean, you mentioned kids.
Right. So I think in the past, a lot of our forums were geared toward an older population, and that's great too, and we'll still do those. Last year, we did a forum on women's heart health, one on concussions, and another one on, I can't remember the topic right now. It might have been on strokes, but so there, so we do a varied number. I think because I came on the committee over the last year and have brought kind of a different perspective to what human services and safety might be in town. My ideas are sometimes geared toward a younger population, but certainly others on the committee have a perspective of serving an older population as well.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to be more well-rounded.
What is the attendance been at your forums, do you know?
The attendance varies greatly, depending on the subject of the forum. Sometimes we have 10 to 12 people, and then I know we've had some in the past on Lyme disease and ticks and things like that were really, really well attended. So we're playing around with like the time frame, the Wednesday night is not a favorite for most people. So maybe if we could do Saturday afternoon, we might get more, but then I know there's also a lot of reasons people would do that, so it's a tough one.
And how about share the Thanksgiving groceries seniors bulletin? The reason why I ask is last evening we had Don Lowe, and he spoke to us about wheat. The town of Bolton contributes to wheat. Behind you, we're going to be talking to the Council on Aging. And I'm just wondering, and I've wondered this for a long time with this particular budget, is there overlap? I mean, to me, I think an easier accounting, no disrespect to you, quite frankly, I feel as though the town and everyone could be better served with just that line item, $150 in Council on Aging budget. Tell me why that's not the case.
So I can't necessarily answer that question. I don't have a lot of historical context to it. I know that this past year, when the volunteers from our town who go to pick up the groceries that we and then distribute them to the residents in our town that need them, they were offered essentially, a large 30-pound bird and a full butternut squash and a 5-pound bag of potatoes, and it's just not something that a senior who's looking to have groceries delivered is going to do anything with. I mean, it's not. They're not having a feast for their, 30 people on Thanksgiving Day. So the groceries were really something that Pat had an idea that she had to let's just take this and go get what they need. Let's go to the grocery store and get them. Turkey breast, things like that. So I don't know a lot about, the Council on Aging or what the other groups are doing. So I definitely feel like I could, as the chair of the committee now, I could meet with these other groups and find out what they are doing and where we overlap. But I can't really tell you right now.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak for you, but one of the things I want to say is just when I met with Laura, she seems very attuned to the idea that there is some overlap between what her committee does and what other departments and committees do. And I think as an incoming chair, she wants to spend part of this year trying to see, are there ways to be more efficient? Am I serving more a facilitative role rather than an initiative role? So I don't know, I'm excited for what she brings into this role. And I think there was also some limits on your flexibility to completely revise the budget before you're officially chair.
Right.
But I think, she made a really strong effort to try to take it down pretty considerably.
Well, this could also be a transition year in terms of collaborating with those sort of where there's mission overlap and then make a decision for next fiscal year, this is where it's gonna be in the budget.
Yeah, no,
And we'll
I
still
mean,
collaborate in terms
I-
of planning and delivery.
yeah.
Don't you think?
No, I do, because absent of you coming in here, yeah, and quite frankly, I was ready to cut this budget in half and give half to Council on Aging and the other half to,
Board of Health.
yeah, health. So I don't know what the other committee members were going to say to me on that, but, you know, there does seem to be a different focus, you know, new energy. So I feel as though I'm on board, and yeah, let's take another year. But knowing where this town is, from a financial standpoint, and knowing there is no need for overlap, right? We
right.
need to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, and I know that this committee was, I think it was formed in 2014,
Yeah.
so it's a fairly new committee, so I don't really know all the historical context. I might get some when I meet with the chairs of the other committees and things like that.
And I think if a deliverable out of that could be looking at what are the distinct missions of the three organizations, you know, who owns what. And that may mean redefining what those
Sure.
missions are, so
Yeah.
you're not falling off.
Yeah, no, the issue that I'm having is, again, no disrespect, this is 3 years where I've been sitting here wondering, what is this? Why was it created? Why are we putting money? The money is,
No,
I'd rather
I don't
give it.
disagree, but
Yeah.
I think under the new leadership and the tendency toward collaboration, we've come out with a very clear, it doesn't need to be a separate group, or are you a separate group just doing safety programs? Sure. You know, so.
Yeah.
What I'm impressed with, and I don't mean this as any disrespect to Pat, is that you are aiming to get some input from young families and so on, because we have a very active council on aging, and yes, we do have a lot of, I can speak as one myself, older people in town, but we also are getting, you know, young families in. So I was the one who mentioned Lyme disease to Pat, and she
Sure.
took off with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm impressed. I think that the energy you're bringing to this is good, and I would go along with Ann and say we should just let you communicate with other groups and work out what you need. And I'm impressed that you decided to use other surveying tools, even though that's just a little bit of money. Because I don't
Out of a
know.
$3,000 budget, that's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
It is, and there was a survey that was handed out at the last town meeting that,
Well, and Survey Monkey is free if you don't want a lot of analytical tool power
Well,
that.
they cut you off at 100 responses, so
Ah.
if it's 100 responses or less, you're good, but if you are,
You found a workaround, and that's great.
Well, it's also on the town
we can use
website.
other tools,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are
Very
other
good.
tools, yeah.
All right.
I
So,
support your sentiments, Brett.
Yeah.
That I'm supporting your sentiments.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, because you've got new leadership and you've got overlapping missions, and if you guys could sort that out, I think we'd have more
Yeah.
vibrant programs, more focused to the need.
Yeah, all right.
If, yeah, okay.
So, Human Services, Safety, 5780, entertain a motion to approve as is, $1,000.
so moved. Second.
So you're changing the budget?
Yes.
Do you want to back?
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Thank you very
opposed?
much.
I think that's great. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Information.
Again, it's a stay of execution. If not, if Pat was here, I would want
Let's not,
Have side
yeah,
conversations.
right.
I know, I said, I know how you feel. I feel your pain.
Council on Aging.
What number is count, what, you count what?
541.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
541.
Why don't I pass this out? This is a reimbursement of the expenses, which comes off about $85,960.
Okay.
So guys, we got an updated copy this evening. Yeah, so you hand out.
Thank you. Back in my-
Is that what you call
More paper.
Yes, it is.
I know.
Avalanche, thank you.
Me too.
You and I can share this? How's that?
Thank you.
All right. It looks like this, Ted. There's a little bit of writing.
I'm with the program now.
All right, there it is. Brian Boyle's writing right here.
Wait a minute.
He said it potentially
There
is
it is, there it
offensive.
is.
I don't think I found it yet, but okay, I can follow.
It was handed out to me.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it, I know I got it.
If you have a pile file.
Once he said Brian Boyle's writing, I found it.
Yeah.
I have it somewhere. You gave it to me.
Could it be also?
Yeah, it could be there.
I really need to.
Yeah, here you go. It's not Brian. Brian was writing, but there it is.
Thank you.
There's another version of it. All right. So, where are we again? We are at 541. Okay. So, wages, salary, Nanachka, those are all accounted for based upon COLA.
Yes.
All right. And so van drivers has gone from 8 to 9,000.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that, please.
Well, let me tell you that it's an estimated figure, because we don't know. It depends on usage of the van. Just to show you what it is now, from fiscal year 18, from July 1st to December 1st of 17, my driver's pay was $4,200.26, leaving a balance of $3,800 for balance of fiscal year 18, 6 more months, just to show that it's increasing in usage, and also I just increased it to $1,000, but as you see what I passed out, it's fully reimbursed by MOT. MOT pays 100% of the driver's wages.
So regardless, so it's ultimately when whatever number is spent on MART, whether it's 8,000 or 9,000,
Well, 15,000 will get it back.
it all comes back.
Well,
It's 100% reimbursed.
So we-
by the state.
100% reimbursement.
Yeah, so so the time lag on that, so we pay it and then approximately
We
when,
pay it, and then they do some type of a cheat sheet or something that goes to the town, which I've never seen, but they do.
then Oscar, can you weigh in on that?
On a monthly basis, I
Yeah.
send an invoice to them,
Okay.
and they send me a check, which I send into them.
All right, well, it's better than waiting around for 18 months. Okay.
They also pay for the gasoline charges. They pay for the training sessions that they send the drivers to, which is required by MOT in order to drive the MOT van. They pay for all charges. They also pay now an authorized dispatcher of 33% of the total gross pay of the driver's salary.
So,
So
can I ask,
everything on MOT is all fully 100% reimbursed.
so can I just ask a clarifying question? So when we're looking at this budget, if we look at the line for van drivers, right?
5114?
Yep,
Yeah, get all
that's
this
100% reimbursed.
100%.
The
I mean,
line-
you could use more or less, but it's 100%.
And then line 5480 for
5480 is
gasoline.
100% reimbursed.
And then the estimated $3,000 for the dispatcher, that would essentially
That would
come
be-
out of the 36,000 for salary. Is that where that would,
It would be reimbursed to the town. What Minochka does with it, I really don't know.
General
Does that-
fund,
does
just
that-
so it would go straight into
General
the general.
fund. Okay.
So does that appear in this budget, the driver, the dispatcher?
No, it's not added in there.
Well, you don't see the revenue sides in these budgets, it's kind of, we're just
But the
looking at the
dispatcher's not in this
expenses.
budget.
No, well, I took on the responsibility of
Okay.
being dispatcher. I had to go for testing and physical and all that, but it's in my wages.
Okay, that's what I was.
Oh, hence why yours went up.
Yeah.
Mine only went up with the COLA.
COLA.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So the bottom line is, on that sheet, I gave you 71,000 or whatever it was. When you take off the 14,000.
Yeah, we have 85,848. 85,848 total council on aging budget.
Okay, and then you take 14,000 off of that, that's the reimbursements by now.
I have 85,960.
Yeah,
960, I have, yeah, that's with the COLA.
Let's have 15 different versions of this goddamn thing. 85,
960.
we just got 85,848 tonight.
well, this is the
Yeah,
thing I just handed.
Linda sent out another version this afternoon, which agrees with the number Brad just said.
So the total budget for this year.
Can I see the 848 one?
71.
Because that's not what I have.
85,960, less than
Yeah.
14,000.
Yeah.
85,960 first, okay.
Right? Dispatching is in your salary, but you're doing.
Yes. You reimbursed off my salary, because I'll be doing.
Wait, that's what's in here. That's what's in this packet.
Yes, but it's not what I asked you to print.
Oh, I see.
We thought we had most updated version,
I'm
we
with
didn't
you.
have those.
Okay, I'm on board.
Brian, you want this? You don't want these?
Sure.
So it is the 960.
It's a 960, thanks.
All right, and, okay. And the bid, so for all intents and purposes, coming in relatively level, the one, major outlier is just the additional hours for Lisa.
Outreach, yes.
Okay,
And her salary gets reimbursed $4,000 from a state grant, but it's reflected in the figures.
mhm.
So that's
Is
not
it
part of
just
the
there's-
14,000?
No, it isn't, that's why I didn't record it, because it's already reflected here.
Is it because there are more people, more activities?
For outreach,
For
Lisa's been working 4.5 hours for us, and she's an exceptional employee. I mean, of all the seniors that she helps, you could fill this room plus another room. And I believe that it's time that she becomes benefited and gets 20 hours a week. She was 19, we've given her 1 extra hour, and she was never on a grade or a step. So she's now a different grade in a step, and she's getting a 21.49, which she should, and she volunteers so many hours, she works so many hours, she doesn't even get paid. She's exceptional, you don't want to lose her.
She's the best.
No.
Is there somebody in town administration that approves these increased hours, or you're nominating it and by us voting?
John Madden.
Yeah, there's a signed,
All right.
Okay.
John Madden, and I think,
yep, signed by Donna and Don.
All right,
So,
other questions?
I'm good.
Good to me.
Motion,
Make a motion or you make a motion?
entertain a motion to approve, as is, on this number of 85,960, which we don't know what version this is, but what we're gonna freaking go.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Table corner.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
All right, so Minuteman is 302. So, sir, thank you for coming in. It's been a couple of years since we've had you in.
Actually, this is my first time coming in.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
What do we do for initiation?
Then,
He's getting it right now.
then I don't know. We had Minuteman in before. Clearly, it was a different individual.
Yeah.
So I apologize.
No, we had a 4-year gap without representation at Minuteman. When my eldest daughter went to school, I asked who the rep was, and the seat was vacant, so I talked to Linda and Don Lowe and asked how we get that going, and I got nominated.
I think you nominated it.
So I've been the rep for a number of years, but again, we've been working towards this huge capital project.
Yeah.
And,
So share a little bit if you don't mind, because we did talk about that last year, the year before, in terms of, I know there was
Yep.
1 or 2 towns kind of holding it up,
Yep.
and then it came together and started. So, give us a little update on that if you don't mind.
So real quickly, we were a 16-member community collaborative, and there were 6 member towns that left. We are now 10. The school committee is functioning much higher functioning at this point. As you can imagine, with 16 independent voices, there was a lot of late nights working through some issues. That being said, we did get the approval to build a new school. The school was built in the early 70s, was the first voc in the area before Assabet and some of the other ones. So a lot of people ask, why is Bolton in the Minuteman collaboration? And so before there were other vocational schools, we were progressive as a town and went with one of the first at the time, the premier school.
And is it also not fair to say that the ship has also kind of left the dock in those other schools, Assabet, it's exceedingly difficult to get in even if we wanted to?
Yeah, so with other vocational schools, they're sized based on their districts. And so Hudson, Maynard, some of the other towns that go to Assabet have large waiting lists.
And is it every town is required to have?
Every town in Massachusetts is required to have vocational education services available to them.
And so that means we have to be part of a...
Or pay for services to go to a...
If need be, right?
That's
And
right.
it's
So hypothetically, we're not part of a district, and we have people who want to go. The town has to pay to send them wherever. It's like school choice. We have to send them transportation costs, full funding, the whole deal. And then if they're doing a capital project, then you're assessed a capital fee on top of that as well. So you also don't get any voting rights on what's happening with the school. So being part of a district gives you the opportunity to have a seat at the table. We can send our students, in this particular case, to a quality program. There are, is everybody familiar with the vocational programs?
Well, you
To some
said
degree.
one thing, though, that I need you to clarify.
Okay.
Is that when you said school choice,
So
they have to really not get a program, something that they want to do, it's not offered at the high school. They have to go through this process though, right? In order to be able to get approved to go. to a vocational school. Is that
out,
right?
so,
If you're not
so
part of
if
it.
you're not, that would be if you're not part of a district, that's correct. So if the high school didn't have any vocational programs, which they have very few, then, yeah, so someone wanted welding, or they wanted environmental.
Cooking.
Well, culinary,
Technology.
but specific culinary, or, you know, any of the variety, advanced manufacturing, which is a brand-new shop that they're putting in. We would then have to find a facility, or help them find a facility, and then send them to that and pay the cost. Being part of the district, they get the students get the full range of whatever choices are available and offered at the school. So there are, I think, 16 different programs that are offered. They're changing. Minuteman is very progressive and is in a program right now of moving towards what they call a career academy model. And they're clustering different types of vocational or CTE career technical education programs together to give kids an overlapping thing. So engineering will have exposure to robotics and drafting, and environmental might be part of that as well. But there's clusters of areas that they'll go to, as well as their traditional academics. You know, we talk about children coming in and getting Head Start programs when they're younger, but this is one of the premier opportunities for youngsters coming out of our grammar schools and getting a head start on figuring out what they might want to do later on. You know, it's a safe environment for them to try things, fail or be challenged, and then stimulate an activity that they could excel at. A lot of the traditional vocational thoughts were they're preparing you to go into the workforce, but what you're actually seeing is, you know, better than half of the students are attempting some post-secondary training and going on. It's totally different. Again, I'm a product of vocational education. I went to Assabet, my wife went to Minuteman. And it is not the same types of programs that I went to school with.
How many students from Bolton do we have?
So we range anywhere between 8 and 12 year over year. And again, part of that is the stigma of people thinking that these children are not going on to college, and that's just not true.
I've been familiar with Worcester Tech, and
Yeah.
the development of Worcester Tech, which is just a phenomenal school.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with Assabet, but it's not at all like vocational training in Marion School. And most of the kids, and many of the kids, are different kinds of learners. I've talked to kids, they say they don't want to sit at their desk all day. So that the variation, and then there are a lot of them, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of them go to college.
Yeah. And not
It's
just
changed
some college, right? I mean, I will tout my own child. She went to environmental over at Minuteman, and she had opportunities to go to you know, to some of the top schools.
Yeah, it's a dramatic change.
Yeah, so academically it's just as rigorous as your traditional high schools.
So, is it fair to say that when the group went from 10 to, 16 to 10, that the capital project was also scaled accordingly?
So that was, so it's always been right-sizing the school. The capital project was sized for 624 students. Originally, the school was designed, the original design was, I think, 1,000 or 1,200 students. But it was cognitive that in preparing the program for part of the Department of Education and trying to think of the name of the group that is kicking in some of the funds. So it's
MSBA?
Yes, MSBA, thank you. There's a $144 million project, $44 million of which will be coming back or is being funded by MSBA. And their recommendation was to right-size the school. So again, we currently have out-of-district students that are going to the school. That number of out-of-district students will be drastically reduced. So if you're not part of the district, then you get put on a wait list. Bolton could send more students. It's convincing the community that this is a great opportunity for their students. Again, I'm on Facebook and in the community, I'm trying to be the cheerleader for this opportunity. We're paying and have been paying to have this as our second high school. But we still have parents that will opt to send to private or to the high school and aren't even aware that we have this opportunity.
Yeah.
So you do any marketing?
So there has been some marketing. We market in the schools, the grammar schools, and so there's opportunities. But I think the challenge is convincing the parents that it's not your grandparents' vocational school.
Do you have some kind of outreach, like offering tours to parents?
Yeah, so is there a limit of how many we could send?
Yeah.
Until the school is filled up and we don't have any,
So there's no percentage based on?
yeah, so our
how much
vote
we
is,
put in?
our vote at the table is predicated on how many students we send. Arlington sends over 100. Lancaster 5 years ago was sending about 9. They're now sending 50, 55.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention. But, so the 480 could be for 100 students if we sent them?
So it is, the formula is based on how many students we send. And there's a calculation, so there's a percentage of the capital. We also have the special distinction in Bolton of having our grammar school have tech ed, so Mrs. Malahi and that her wages and stuff are all funded from this budget. So if we removed that if we removed tech ed, which the kids would go crazy because they love it. That's where some of that money is. It's over $100,000, I think, is
So this,
in that budget.
this number is,
Well, this was the budgeted 2018.
Oh, yeah, do we have?
We don't have, that was my next
Oh,
question.
yeah, well, no, I have FY19.
I just copied the same number.
The handout I got.
So that's
the stapled copy.
Is the main driver the
This is on
or
front.
is
Yeah,
that
so
kind of a minor?
no, that's the main,
This
that is the main factor.
We're looking at $40,000 to $60,000 a student.
Well, you have to back out the middle school.
The tech ed.
You don't have this year's assessment, right? Do you have?
I don't, I just, I got what I got last night at school committee, which is the 2019 assessment for January 10th. So it's,
Am I doing that right?
Can I
you wanna
look
take a quick look?
It's very expensive to do, no question of the law.
Well, you're also sharing the overhead
Right, I
among
know.
those students.
I
So if
know.
you had more students, the cost per
Exactly,
student
that's
would
what
be-
I was going to
That's
say, yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you mind if I take a copy of this?
No, I got,
Oh, you have copies to hand out?
well, I don't. I didn't realize I was gonna be doing that, but if you wanna make. copies
Yeah,
of
that would be
it,
awesome.
great.
Thank you.
So I just want to go back on, touch upon a couple of things, because
Yeah.
there's a couple.
And one of the other things is Superintendent McQuillan has made himself available. So if you actually want to have him come and speak or meet with the committee, he'd be willing to come
And I'm
in.
sure if you want to go over and actually look what they do.
Yeah, well, again,
It's the
if you
biggest
want to do
sales
that, or if you want to
job
come
I've
over
seen.
and see the
I
new
used
Eat
construction.
there all the time.
So when do you expect the construction to be completed?
So they'll be moving in 2019, so
Okay.
they're putting up the steel structure now. It should be skinned and ready to go.
And
But
are the kids helping?
so in certain areas, they're looking for opportunities
Yeah.
for the kids to participate.
That's
But-
great.
But so one of the things that is interesting is right now with the cruise and stuff, culinary is providing opportunities for breakfasts, lunch,
That's awesome.
snacks and stuff like
I
that
used
to
to,
go out on.
when I worked at a place in Lexington, our department would go over for lunch at the culinary
The Fife
place.
and Drum, yeah. So the
Very-
Fife and
very-
Drum is their student run.
Very good food.
They've got a Cosmo facility, so hairdressing and
I thought you
automotive
were
is
talking
over.
about drinks.
I know.
No, yeah, no. So they've got an automotive department.
Okay.
And at one time, and I've been talking with the superintendent about this, the garden club in Bolton used to buy their flowers and stuff from the school. So there would be certain programs in the beautification of the town. There would be placards and stuff saying.
Yeah, Memorial Day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they would have flowers and stuff like that, and it would say, horticulture provided, Minuteman Horticulture provided the flowers.
So reach out to the cemetery committee.
Yeah, the memorial
And let's make sure that connection is made and they're at least acknowledging you and maybe that can get,
It's an opportunity
Yeah.
to showcase some of
absolutely.
the.
Just bear with me for one second,
Yeah, go
right?
ahead.
So I got a number, I have a number here from last year, 480,000 and change,
Yeah.
okay? You mentioned 12 kids. That's $40,000 per student. And I recognize it's a big number, and I also realize that you're doing your part to get more kids there.
Yep,
And if more kids went, it wouldn't be 40,000 per kid.
correct.
But you also mentioned there's a formula that the more you send, the
So-
more the number. And you also said that, to her question, there is a limit, that if there's no space, they don't go. So I have an issue with dropping $500,000, and at some point, we're gonna be told, no, we can't, there's no room for Bolton?
Well, no, it wouldn't be there'd be no room, there would be that there'd be a wait lot,
Not for our kids.
Yeah.
So-
No way in hell.
So
Is there a wait list for the high school?
at Assabet, so let's compare apples to apples here,
Yeah,
okay? At Assabet in Hudson,
we're not part of Aspen.
I understood,
It's
Yeah.
another,
but it's another vocational
Same
school.
structure.
So it's the same type of structure. There are so many students that can go to the school. There's 624 students that can be in the new school.
Yeah,
Once they hit 624, we can push as much as we can to have as many as our students go. Right now, we could send as many as we possibly
because they
can
have space.
because we have students from out of district that are going. All we would be doing is pushing the out of student district students out.
So if you had a student there that was going 2 years and all of a sudden there's no more room,
So
and you
no,
need
no,
to send, so
No,
they're
so
they're
they would-
grandfathered
they-
in,
once
so
they
then how
start-
do you have space?
so
The
they wouldn't be,
freshman class.
taking post-secondary students, and they wouldn't be taking any out of district students
For the freshman class.
for the freshmen. So once you're in the school, you're in
They
the
don't kick
school.
you out.
Bob?
Yeah, they're just gonna, if that happens, if they hit capacity and the student is already in there for 2 years, they're just gonna limit the size of the freshman class dramatically,
But
so that
then you
they're
get on the
still,
waiting list, so, right?
along with everybody else from all the other towns.
Right.
Correct.
Interesting that we're talking about capacity when we're just paying money to downsize the school. So what is, when the new school is built with its new lower capacity,
624 is the number.
what's the margin between the 624 and where you think you'll be in 2019 or whenever this thing is complete? I mean, is it
Full?
already full? when
No,
we start, or is it half?
right now there's,
Man, I can answer all those questions.
yeah, so right now there's out of district students that are going to school. They're actually looking at some of the out of district communities are considering joining the district because there's communities
school
like
up.
Dover who sends 1 and Bolton who sends 9. There's opportunity that they could join the district. That would be a district vote. And so we would
But
vote.
if they join if more
Yeah.
communities join, do they have to change the size of the school
No,
again?
so the size of the school's gonna be what it is.
Right, I would assume.
So on an MSBA project, of which this is, they look at, you build to 85%. The student population that they put, that you build for is 85% of what you think it's gonna be. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so this is downsizing going on here. Concord Carlisle just built a brand-new, from the ground-up high school that was populated, they only moved into it in the spring of 2 or 3 years ago. That was smaller than their prior high school in terms of capacity. North Middlesex is the same thing. They had to build a new high school, and the reason Concord Carlisle built a new high school is because they were on academic probation from NEASC, the accrediting, right? But same thing at North Middlesex, they had to downsize their brand-new high school. It's built for smaller population.
All right, so Bob, take
So
it
this
through the...
Didn't that happen at Florence Sawyer too? When we built that, didn't we build it smaller than we wanted to because of the
Well,
MSBA?
the other thing with MSBA is they have a particular way of calculating what your student population is going to be, which does not take into account housing starts or anything else. So they, yes.
So Bob, your 85% number on this gentleman's number of 624, 85%, that's 530. So what you're saying is they built the school for 530 kids?
No,
No,
they built it
no.
for 624, but the number was
No, I think.
15% more,
No, I-
right?
The-
530
I think I think it, characteristically, I can't say that this is the case in this instance. They think that at the time the school is ready to be occupied, the student population is going to be 5-something, and it will grow to be 624.
Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding.
Okay.
Right,
So-
and again, that would be in-district
From the
population.
10 districts around that.
That's correct.
So,
That's only
so
in-
How
going,
many students are there currently?
I think we're, I don't know off the top of my head.
Ballpark.
I think about 700.
That's, okay.
And so in the.
But
in
that
the-
comes out of
Percentage
district.
of out of
It's-
district.
That comes out of district.
But then those kids, that's out of district right now, they're in the school, but they're going to be in the school.
But they're
when
going to
Different school.
graduate out.
Different,
Right.
so
They're gonna
again,
graduate
they're
out.
They'll
building,
graduate out.
and they're
So-
building a new school, right? So that new school is sized for 624, right? So
Right, and you have 700.
we have members that are out of district, and you have at least sophomore, juniors, and seniors that were in that 60-member community. Right, because those students, once they were in, they're in.
Right.
So those
For 3
classes,
years, they'll be gone.
that's correct.
Yeah, like he just said in so many words.
Right, but-
They'll graduate out of the
Yeah,
program.
and you still have the old facility until they graduate, right? So if you need additional capacity,
Well, so again, the
Still on
the
the-
freshman classes are smaller.
right,
I know.
right. No, I think I understand where Connie's going with this.
I get it. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
still on a wait list. Even, I gotta wait for them to graduate in order to get.
No, I mean, so if Bolton decided to send more students in the freshman class, we would be in.
all right, so right now we're at
That's if
the,
you don't have 700 students, if
So-
you're not to full capacity, correct? I have to wait for these students who
So-
are out
so-
of district to
But
graduate.
the mix of the freshman year would change.
Yeah,
and
The number of
again,
member kids
you-
who apply.
all right, so let's attack it this way.
okay.
What number
It
of
is what it
kids, tell me the number of kids,
That I would like to see,
yeah,
about 50.
right. And at that number, our assessment,
Yeah,
The-
so I would
no
like to be.
kid would be
I
on a
would-
wait list,
That's correct.
and our assessment would be the same.
I don't know that.
Okay. So what number of kids, no wait list, and the assessment stays the same? I'm trying to maximize this. I'm just trying to get a sense.
I would have to talk to Kevin Mahoney, who's the
Yeah.
finance guy.
Danaska.
I have a question. So this total middle school assessment, so it's
Yeah.
obviously just Bolton, Lancaster, and Stowe who do this. Is this just specific to our regional school system?
As far as the middle school stuff?
Yeah, the middle school assessment, like I see Bolton's middle
So
school
there's-
assessment is
there's-
122,000.
There's actually
Is this, do we
There's-
have to do this?
Do we have to do the tech ed?
Well, the middle, like, why just us?
So there
And why
are,
wouldn't that 122 be part of, so we're paying it 100%, whereas if it went through Neshoba, we'd only be paying a third of it.
Unless Lancaster has, and Stowe have similar programs.
They
True.
do, or at least they have a.
Well, Stowe's
they have,
is much-
they have the same
half
tech ed
of what ours
program
is.
in their school systems.
So why do they pay
And they're-
half of what we do? Stowe.
They have, well, I don't know.
I'm just, our assessment has gone up 102,000 this year.
Well, part of it is.
I mean, I know it's the
capital.
building and, but,
Yeah.
I mean, 122,000.
So theirs has gone
Big
up
piece
as
of
well.
You know, 20% is that middle school assessment.
Nanashka, where's the middle school side? I can't see.
On this,
little column over here with the arrows.
Total middle school assessment.
That is-
That's
that is a
three
good
figures in that
question.
column.
I mean, that's
Why-
20% of
why
our
is
assessment
Stowe
goes to
half
pay
of that?
for tech ed at the, you know, it doesn't even have anything to do with Minuteman.
Well, it does. It has a lot to do with
They
Minuteman,
run
but
it.
it just doesn't have to do with the high school.
Okay, I mean, I see your point.
Could we get an answer to that? I mean, why Stowe is half? Or maybe what the formula is for that middle school?
Number of kids, maybe?
Well, yeah, Stowe's enrollment and,
But Lancaster's
Lancaster's higher.
Did you say Lancaster has 50
Yeah,
kids in
Stowe's
the
enrollment is
high school
higher.
school?
Well, I don't. yeah,
47
something.
is their minimum, but I think they actually currently have 50, like 52 or 51.
Okay.
Yeah, Stowe does not make sense to me.
Well, it does if they're sending 50 kids.
They're not. Stowe?
That's what this challenge
No,
is?
Lancaster.
No, Lancaster, that's Lancaster.
Stowe is sending 16. And we send 12, yet we pay double what they're paying for a middle school assessment.
Well, those are the projected, right? So we currently have 10 enrolled.
Right.
So we have
I
nine
mean, but still the
nine
question
students
remains, why does
and
Stowe
one
pay
postgrad.
half what we pay?
But you, pardon me for interrupting.
Yep.
You're confusing the assessment for
This current.
the high school students with the assessment for the middle school.
Right.
We need
I'm
that
not
to be-
confusing, I just want to know why Stowe gets charged half when we have very similar
Is it the number of
programs.
students?
It can't be. It's not enough to make a
Well-
half difference.
Yeah, I
Is-
don't think, does this say, I don't think this says, I don't have a copy, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say how many middle school students there
No.
are, does it?
No.
Okay.
No, but Stowe is actually, I mean, it's comparable to Bolton's enrollment in their middle school.
I know, I understand.
Like, it's certainly
I
not
understand.
Yeah, I don't have that answer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that, again, we have to
your
get
glasses
from
on.
Kevin and his
All right.
folks over at the school.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's
I
good to
can
know.
ask Kevin to give us a breakdown.
That'd be helpful.
All right, so where we're also going with this is if we just move to the total assessment, last year I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Last year, FY18, 480,287 for Bolton.
Right.
This year, 582,375.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you reading that? That's 2016.
This hasn't been finalized, this is the,
This is the
Current version.
the current version, 4.1.
So that may change before town meeting.
It's gonna be pretty close, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, I'm not the finance guy, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, sir, you
Yeah.
do know, when you do get the final number, you know to get in front of Nanachka.
I think it gets sent to Kristen, the
Okay,
treasurer,
all right,
I believe, and Don will know too.
Yeah.
all right.
If a new town joins the district, do they?
It affects, it affects assessments.
Do they pay some back dues, so to speak, or do they kind of get on the train after it's already out of the station and, you know, they?
I'm not
There's-
sure.
there's a-
First of all, I don't know what the process is for entering the district.
I would expect it to be a fair
Yeah, I mean,
deal.
They just negotiated a new one as part of the agreement for the new high school. It was,
I mean.
it was all over the papers back then,
Yeah,
but I
the
don't
big-
remember
The
what
big challenge
in it.
was is that up until this building and the new regional agreement was put place, you couldn't leave the district because you needed all 16 towns to
Yeah.
vote whether or not you could leave.
Yeah.
And so you were kind of locked in.
But if I understood the way it was explained to the town of Bolton, right? I mean, we were in the program, and, you know, knowing that this capital project was on its way, we were, even if we said, we're out of here, we were still locked into some of
That's
this.
correct.
So with that rationale, it's also fair to say the 6 that left,
They're still paying.
they're still paying on some of those capital costs.
Yeah, in fact,
Bob?
there's one page.
They're paying on the capital costs for the prior construction. They're not paying capital for the new construction. And if we'd left, we'd still be on the hook
For
for
the
capital, for past construction, but not for the new construction.
And we would be paying
We'd be paying to send our students
students to
something.
go, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And at some juncture, if the districts that are part of the consortium fill up the freshman slots, you would have no opportunity to send your kid. Couldn't get them in.
Well, you'd be in a waiting room.
Well,
Well,
Point.
but a couple years ago, we were sending students to Assabet, and we ran the calculations.
Which is
Because
still
at first we thought, well, why are
We
we
have to find a
paying
place
extra
for
to go to Assabet when we're
That's
already...
if the programs aren't offered at Minuteman.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's a very attractive, it was 16,500
Well,
per student. if I remember.
but if you look at this detail,
It was-
there's a per student cost of $18,000. That's the starting point.
guys,
And then there's some state mandated costs, which if you look in detail at the Neshoba Regional School District budget, you'll see the same thing. That there's a per student cost, and then there's a state mandated contribution you have to make. You look at this, that state mandated contribution, and you can see it's based on, it's not the valuation, what's the state evaluation called, not
Is that
accrued.
the state, state assessment?
The state takes the value of a town and makes adjustments to it based upon income in that town. And that's what that state mandated municipal contribution is.
so it's capacity, basically, to pay. So they-
Capacity to
So a
pay,
community that
right.
has a lower wage structure.
Right.
Yeah, some economic value. is
Some
gonna-
would-
Right, equalized valuation, that's what it's
Yeah.
called. It's
Okay.
called equalized valuation. And so that's, but you can see towns like Dover and Belmont pay a higher percentage based on EQV than Bolton does.
Yeah.
Then you've got the state minimum and transportation costs, and it, you know, as you move from left to right, it builds up to the assessment that you see. But the base per student cost is the same across all the towns.
Okay. And sir, are you able to explain the choice adjustment number? Looks like 2 towns are dealing with that, us at 5,000 and Lancaster at 19,000. In this column right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well,
There's really nothing we can do about this.
oh, no.
It's just nice to know what it
yeah,
is.
Yeah. No, this is very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, so 18,260, so the same base price as Bob was saying was 18,264 is the per student.
Yeah, no, I was just going at it a different way, right? I mean, it just like what we have, I was just trying to figure out, I love the idea. I've heard about some of the programs. I wholeheartedly agree. Not every single kid is built for traditional high school. I totally get it. So we have it.
Yep.
You,
How can we, you know, and I've seen some of the posts on Facebook there. Thank you for doing that. How is it we can get more? And then my math comes in and says, okay, well, what's the number for maximizing the kids, but not changing the assessment, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I was going. That's all.
Yeah, so George Clement, who is over at Minuteman, is heading up a program to go after some of the grammar school students, get them excited about going over. They've got shadow days, there's camps, STEM camps, so the science, engineering, technology, and math programs, girls in STEM program that they run these camps during the breaks.
Do they have anything like apprenticeships? Or on-the-job
So they,
experiential training?
so the kids can go out on co-op.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's part of their CTE training, is they have the opportunity to work with partners in the community to work and get paid in some instances. There was just a big thing on This Old House with
Yes, I
the
saw that.
horticulture department and landscaping design, working on one of the This Old House projects. There's been, catering opportunities that they've had, state events and stuff like that where the kids have gone and provided meals. But again, if any of you want to go over and tour the school, tour the new construction of the school and see that, or meet with anyone with the faculty, let me know, I'll coordinate it.
Thank you very much for, yeah.
David, is this number here, is that the grand total to run the campus for a year?
That's the assessment value, that's
That's our number? Okay.
So the total budget,
I'm sorry.
no,
Yeah,
is.
That's our assessment?
No, that's
total.
our
That's
total.
everyone.
total. I get it now.
So 13,
You did big. I am going to think through.
so,
Put another layer on it.
That's okay.
I think they're talking
I
about
think they
18
turn on the
18
refrigeration at 8.
Okay.
for the FY
Oh,
19.
well, I left
Okay.
notes in the car, I should have brought it in here.
I
It's probably
was
colder in here.
just trying to carry that number forward and okay.
Again, from a financial perspective, if there's anything that you're looking for, let me know and I can get Kevin Mahoney to send the stuff over.
Thank you very much for coming in this evening. I'm sorry for keeping you as late as we have.
No, that's perfectly
That was
fine.
helpful, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Nanashka,
Yeah.
even though this is not a fully defined number,
Oh, I'm putting it in.
okay, all right,
Placeholder.
yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right,
So-
thanks.
Sorry, before you go,
Yeah.
so did we agree that there was, somebody was gonna get back to us about the middle school assessment?
So I can get that too, yeah. So
Oh.
Kevin Mahoney will give us a complete breakdown of the assessment.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll ask him for what the formula is for both middle school and for the high school.
because if you can just let him know, like, I don't know if I'm doing the math right, but I just quickly crunched the numbers. When you look at, for FY19, the total assessments for each town divided by the current population, Bolton is by far paying the highest per student at almost 48,000, and I think the next highest is like 45,000 for Stowe. So I just really want to try to understand why our per student spend is so much higher, and if it's that 122,000, then just try to understand what that's
Yeah,
about.
in years past, when I think Don had asked that question, it came down to that the middle school program, which is costly, but hugely beneficial to both 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, in getting them interested in technology ready as well, was a big factor in that. There also, and again, when Sawyer had a computer lab put in, that was, I think, part of the cost as well. So Minuteman funded that. So the computer lab that's over at Sawyer for the middle school students was funded by Minuteman.
It was funded by both.
It was full, yeah, but it was.
But it came back.
The money came back to us. So. All right,
All right,
All right, thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
have a nice
Thank you very
evening.
much, good to meet you.
good to meet you. Thank you.
All right, so, Nanachka, Linda, and I were having a conversation, and, closing out tonight, we are I mean, pretty heavily through everything, right? I mean, there's a couple,
Some things we're waiting for, health insurance,
Yeah.
dispatch, school, stuff we don't have any
Our
control
budget.
over.
I mean, do we
Yeah.
want to approve ours?
Right, advisory reserve fund, there's some little things there, but
Yeah,
the biggest one is fire.
Yes.
That hasn't been approved yet.
exactly. So, I explained to Linda that, yes, it makes sense to have fire back in for a multitude of reasons, the capital items as well as their budget. We have sent over questions. Unless they're prepared to come in and answer those questions, to me, it's just a waste of time.
Exactly. Yes.
So,
But at some
I'd
point, you
like to
have to
see-
No,
approve
exactly.
the budget, whether they answer them or not,
No,
right? I mean,
true.
But Brad, let me ask, would it be worth our while? And I'm supposed to be liaison with fire, but I haven't done much other than second your questions. Would it be worth our going down and sitting down with John and his number two and discussing the way we would like to see them presented, and discussing the concepts of the things that, looking at a 5-year horizon and so on? I get the impression that they're having a little, they're still doing their budget the way they always have.
yeah, it's a great point. And yeah, maybe I just didn't fully connect the dots, right? I mean, we made it clear that it's the two of us.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take that last email that I shot over to them and just say, hey,
Yeah.
just as a follow-up to what Brad said, yada, 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 do you want us
Would
to
it be
come?
worthwhile? Because
Yeah.
I think we ought to give them we have an idea, I just have a feeling that they don't get it yet. I mean,
Well, I don't think that, we haven't been very clear about
No.
exactly what we need.
No, we
and
haven't.
I
the
think
kinds
we
of
have.
metrics we'll
I
look
think we
at.
Exactly.
I think we
The
have.
chief comes in here.
Right, but
He gets it.
I think that it may be so, but I think it is worth revisiting, because clearly they're not performing to that in terms of meeting.
well,
their
but you could also
expectations.
argue that their wage line has not been, there's no detail behind the wage line.
Right.
There's no, average number of calls, rates.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason that can't be provided. That's asked for every year, and we never get it.
We can't talk
Right.
more until we see the data.
Yeah.
And two areas of data that I'm looking for is, one is I'll call it the maintenance reports on the
Right.
air compressor, because that tells the story of whether that air compressor is at the end of its useful life, which would be rare, because air compressors have wear parts, and you replace the wear parts, and it keeps going, and it doesn't run a lot anyway. And then number two, if we're asking for additional people, we saw averages of time and numbers of people, but averages over, I think it was 272 calls or something. There could be spreads here. I mean, you could average two numbers wide apart and get that, or two numbers that are close together, or, we asked for the data, and we offered to go mine the data ourselves, so they don't have to do the work.
Well, and also, there's been nothing to Human Resources to have Donna and Don sign off on any kind of wage adjustment either, so that's,
Well, is there anybody there who is full-time doing anything full-time?
no. It's a
Yeah.
totally
Is
vol-
one?
So all
no,
of,
Dave
all the
Farrell.
fire
Dave Farrell.
guys,
Yeah, but that's not, he's not, this
No,
isn't his,
No, but he's full-time, just to answer the question, he's full-time.
but he's not gonna provide any of this wage data.
Right.
who is, I'm sorry, I
Dave
missed.
Farrell.
He's the permanent firefighter EMT, but he doesn't
Okay.
do any
But he's not the
budgets.
chief, he's not
No.
the.
He's not responsible for any of the budget items, so
So,
he
so,
wouldn't.
I think one of the downsides of a volunteer department, you got volunteers who have other things to do.
Yeah,
And getting the
absolutely.
kind of rigor in the budget building is,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
there isn't a board that oversees them, I mean.
Well, let
you see
me
the
point
libraries.
out that several years ago, the town voted to not have the fire chief report to the town administrator.
To maintain a
Right.
strong
The
chief.
town voted, they were given, this was when I think it was Chief Stevenson. When
Correct.
he stepped down.
Yeah.
The question came before the town at town meeting, do you want to keep the strong chief or do you want to go with a more traditional administrative role, and the town chose to have the chief not report to the town administrator, but to report directly to the Board of Selectmen.
Right, so Don doesn't have a lot of, I mean, he can't make them provide the information.
Right. Well, I guess, you
That's
know,
the
what,
problem.
some of the distressing things that come out of that is the lack of coverage during the day. You know, if we have a major fire, we have to be totally dependent on mutual aid.
No, I don't think they
Not
haven't made
totally.
that case.
I know, but I think just the whole concept of it puts us at risk. The
But
town is very
Lancaster's in the
different.
same
Well,
position,
they
they're
can't say that.
on call, they're a call fire too, and they just had a big fire in Lancaster,
Yes, they did.
and it was
Involved
well
in a system.
responded to. Right. I mean, so it was,
But I
you know,
guess-
they're in the exact same situation, and they
Yeah.
responded quickly to a
That doesn't
fire.
keep us any safer. You know, and so I guess the question is, at what juncture do you really get better discipline in what's happening? And
I mean,
what
that's a greater
services-
question, what you
I
do
know,
with the
it's a huge
fire, and, I
yeah.
mean, whether you alter the whole call
Yeah.
situation is a
Yeah.
whole other
Yeah,
conversation.
so, you know, I think Joe's
Are we at a
on,
tipping point, I guess is what I'm starting to.
Joe's on, so, yeah, just follow up with them, Joe, and we'll see if they would like some assistance.
Right, I mean, I think, especially since, and I wasn't aware of what, I don't remember that vote, but again, I may not have been in town at that time.
I think it's
was
time
away
for a
for
new
while.
vote.
I need an article.
You know, it is a volunteer force, and maybe,
Let me correct that. It is not a volunteer
Okay.
force. It is on call.
call, I'm sorry, I meant to
All right.
say on call.
And I made the same mistake many years in a row, and finally
So
I
what's
got
the
it right.
difference in terms of on-call?
Well,
They
they're
get paid when
paid.
They are paid,
They're
they are
volunteers, not
paid
paid.
when they are paid for showing up,
Right.
Okay,
as opposed to a volunteer who just shows
Goes
up.
up.
okay,
So they are an on-call fire department.
okay.
And, you know, I think when I moved to town, they were still mostly made up of people who lived in town.
Yeah.
And I think we're considerably less than 50% now.
Mhm.
Oh,
That
sure.
people who are on the Bolton Fire Department are
Yeah,
from out of
things are
town.
changing. Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I-
that's what John was saying, and it's pretty clear. I mean, we don't have, our agricultural population has certainly dropped.
Right.
And there aren't that many people who work in town, and I don't think they really.
Right, and those who do are not call firefighters.
Right, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, and they don't want old guys like me who's retired to creak our way up on the ladders.
So I don't know, I was just sort of listening to this and it made me somewhat uneasy and I'm within spitting distance of the fire department.
Well, you'll be safer if they can spit over your house.
I'd have to spit on it myself.
There you go.
But anyway, I don't know, at what point does this town look at capacity?
Well, this is it. I mean, it's, part of it is right now. I mean, they've come in and demonstrated, or they've explained to us what the problem is, right? There's a whole mess of follow-up questions we have, right? Obviously, we're trying to assist in helping to solve what you're mentioning.
And we would
But
have
at the
argued
same
issue
time,
at some point.
there's other issues going on, right? And in my opinion, and again, as Nanachka and I talked about, and wholeheartedly agree, this is, you know, we need to be thoughtful on what the decision is, not just now, but
Going forward,
moving
yeah.
forward, because no one likes a takeaway. You know, we come up with some plan to solve for this year, because we're like, screw it, let's just, get this over with.
We're probably
That-
there for next year.
Not only that, depending upon what the decision is, right, it could be very difficult to unwind.
Yeah, you could foreclose on future options.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So, Mr. Selectman,
Yep.
So,
something you may ponder.
I do ponder it.
So they need to come back, even just to get their budget.
Yeah, they need to come back to the budget.
Yeah, exactly,
And maybe,
They need
So-
to deliver them.
so who is in the liaison with you?
It's just the two of us. And
All
I
right.
haven't done much so far. Brad has sent them a couple of emails. I don't know if you actually went over and talked to them, but
I have, not this go round. I mean, in past years.
I know you haven't passed.
Yeah.
I think you weren't you liaison?
All
That
right,
can be helpful, let me know. And,
so, it is the 17th. Next week, we just go to Tuesdays.
Sounds good to me.
Tuesday is the 23rd.
And what do you-
Again, part of that, I'm sorry, Connie?
No, and what are you thinking about getting fired after?
Well, this is it. I mean, this is where this conversation came in, because Linda's, reached out to me this morning, we were talking with Nanachka. The agenda for the 23rd, next Tuesday, is, for the most part, pretty empty. So, yeah, we want to talk to fire, but,
you gotta spend some time
ready
with
to
her.
We gotta spend some time.
Yeah.
We can't-
I think it might be a little too soon.
well, that's the other issue. I spoke with Donna Madden, and she wants to come in, but she's got some outstanding items, so it was basically Linda, work with Donna when she's ready to go, put her on her agenda, we'll see her. But,
Please remember that Tuesday nights is when the fire department meets.
oh, yeah.
Good
That
point.
won't work.
So we can set up a third, Wednesday if we need to, when we're ready.
Yeah, no, the bottom line is, I think Joe's on the right track.
The
Let's,
next Tuesday.
Joe will reach out.
I'll
and
reach
just
out to
Follow
them.
up, see what's going
Yeah.
on.
See
We can
if we
spend
can
some
help.
time.
And
We have plenty of
I
time.
think you're right. We may have to schedule a Wednesday meeting. If they're meeting on Tuesdays, that isn't gonna work for them.
So what would you talk about next week? Is it worth meeting? I mean, do you have stuff to talk about?
I don't know, I gotta,
We could have it off.
Depends whether or not there's cookies.
I was gonna make some oatmeal ones, but.
The other thing we need to find out is what capital planning's schedule is. 'cause-
Right, because it's you do need to talk about how to pay for the capital items and what you're recommending, what anybody's recommending.
Right.
I guess how you want to pay for them. Look at what available funds we have.
Yeah.
yeah. So, maybe we do that, maybe, we've gone 3 weeks in a row, 6 nights. You guys wanna take next week off? It'll buy us a week, or you're like, why the hell are we going 2 nights a week? Is that,
No, I love that we did it this way, because I feel like,
Yes.
take care, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
I don't know, it
It was
was,
constant,
Yeah,
and
we're always
things
in the
were
zone.
always
Yeah.
in the zone, right.
so I liked it. I was actually thinking, I'm like, oh, if
I
we
like
want a
it.
meeting next week, that'll give me an opportunity to catch up in minutes.
Yes.
'Cause we have a lot to get through.
I mean, it will give fire another week, we can game plan. I can then, if you guys remember, I had a spreadsheet that I laid all out. I can reconfigure that spreadsheet, taking in free cash, all of the capital items. We can start to, it gives us an extra week to kind of.
That would be a good look
recap.
at that master spreadsheet
Yeah.
with the new growth and all that. Does DPW expect to come back?
I
Because
haven't,
we got that email that,
yep.
You passed all their
characterized it on
budgets,
TV.
except snow and ice.
Yeah, I mean, we'll continue to talk about snow and ice. I mean, we learned a little bit more from the revenue standpoint, but I think that,
I
Yeah,
think the
we'll have-
capital items are your next big.
exactly, yeah. We also
Push.
need to start entertaining the statement. We gotta start putting that together.
We also,
Oh, really?
early on, Brian Ed and I invited the law committee in, and I forget exactly what they were going to.
Yeah, so last night it was actually, I wanted them to come whenever Dawn presented the law committee budget. And so Dawn was there,
And
Pat Gray was there.
Yeah.
And then I know Stan from the Board of Selectmen, but who's the chairman? Was somebody else?
Who's
Oh,
Stan?
Bob was there as well. My biggest question was, and I was able to ask them, was what triggers the law committee's involvement? And it sounds like it's pretty much limited to litigation or litigation
Right.
type things,
The answer.
which sounds like it's recently been between 11 and 30% of our actual legal budget spend. But then when I asked Dawn the question of whether law committee has any involvement in overseeing the budget for litigation, he said no, and nobody nobody in the audience disagreed with that. But that was kind of what I was getting at, is like, does the law committee actually look at the litigation bills or look at, you know, what we might be spending on settlement versus pressing forward with litigation?
It seems just more like strategy. Do we or don't we?
Yeah, I mean, so.
In certain cases, they're involved in the strategy, but, yeah.
When there's litigation.
10 to 20%, whatever, yeah. And the chair of the law committee is
So
what,
the-
the lead selectman, the head,
So legal advice, you wouldn't get that from a lawyer?
You wouldn't get that from
kind
a
of
law
legal
committee, no.
advice, whether or not to litigate or to settle?
So I think, so my understanding of the purpose of our law committee bylaw is that they, normally, like the town administrator would be the one working with counsel to discuss litigation strategy. Our law committee, I think, basically comes in and acts as the town's agent, so they would still be working with counsel on that, but instead of it being just the town administrator, it's actually the law committee serving in that managerial role. That's the sense, like they come in to kind of take on that role. It sounds like maybe in practice it has evolved a little bit from what the bylaw seems to say, but were there other things you wanted to get into?
No, I just know you, I had a note in here that you were,
Yeah.
so, okay, so that's off the agenda.
Can I just say how much this stinks?
Yeah.
I did not expect it to go up that much. I was like, oh my God. That's a budget buster.
No, what I would, I mean, it's, and this is.
I mean, we don't have any, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's just, it was
just
kind of a
wish that if
bummer.
somebody hands out something, they can answer the question.
Well, in his defense, he's
Well, he's just a rep. I
just a rep.
understand that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
There have been other
Yeah, man, there's some big numbers.
that have said,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Well, and I think people have forgotten, you know, we approved that, what, 2 years ago, that building spend? I mean,
Yeah.
and it was a dead over. I mean, it was, we
Right.
knew it was gonna be big. I think we all just kind of, like, forgot about it.
No, I didn't.
I mean,
And
you know,
very interesting, we're spending money to downsize the school, yet we're talking about reaching capacity, and the current capacity
well, I think that's
is
the
more than the new
MSBA
school
weird
capacity.
formula.
Yes, I think it is.
I mean,
we're gonna have the
it'll
same
all
issue
work
at the
out
high
in the end,
school
but
if we
it's like,
rebuild. you
whoa.
know?
No, it's that. It's just, I mean, you heard Bob. It's just that formula they use, right? And everyone hops on their train so that they can
Because
get
they
their
give out
money.
some money.
Right,
But they,
but they
You
tie
gotta
your
play by
hands a
their
lot,
rules.
we
yeah.
got 700 kids now.
Can I get on a soapbox about something else just for a second, related to the planning board articles? So I think, I know we're gonna probably talk about them again, but I think it'll be important for our committee to, as much as we can, if we can, be in lockstep with what they're putting forward. You know, we might agree that we're not all on the same page, but if we are in agreement with them, I feel like having advisory and planning board present a united front on some of the more controversial planning board articles would be important,
I would
especially
agree with
this
that.
cottage
Cottage
overlay.
overlay, yes.
Like, I think it sounds wonderful. I've talked to Eric about it. I'm afraid that like people that haven't spent the time to learn about it will come up with a few things and it'll just get tanked
Like the village overlay?
at town meetings. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Remember
just
that?
putting that out there. Like, what can we do
Do
to kind of
yeah,
work
I mean,
with
oh,
them?
yeah.
People immediately think Walmart's gonna be dropped in the center
Right.
of town.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, you just
Well,
can't
it-
change people's minds.
That was, no, it was the picture of Home Depot. Wasn't Walmart.
Yeah, you're right,
It was
it's Home
Home
Depot.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, going from 8 to 10% lot coverage or
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's
No,
like,
and it took us,
these are all good things they're trying to do.
it took us, I mean, we ultimately got the village through, but
It
Oh,
was a
because
it's a
slog.
lines
huge
were
ordeal to get it.
redefined.
Maybe people are in a better frame of mind. Maybe now that their taxes, I mean, their taxes have always been high, but maybe, because does seem to be a new set of younger Bolton people that maybe,
They won't be there.
More progressive.
well, that's true, they won't be at the meeting, you're right. That's a good point.
Um,
That's an excellent point.
Agreed, and that's where I was going, right? Because I've heard, you know, I was involved with the reworking of the village overlay, so I had some concept. I've heard Eric talk about the cottage overlay, but it was also a lot of blah, blah, like, it honestly wasn't until he showed us
Right.
this. And again, I readily admit I am a numbers guy, but this also explained what it's trying to do,
Yeah.
so.
They
That's why-
really, they need like a mission statement. Or not a mission statement, because we know what their mission
Like
is.
our primary objective.
But the primary objective
Benefits.
of this is to da-da-da-da, and the deliverable is.
Right, here's
it
how you're
can
gonna
help-
benefit.
It can help bring in some tax revenue. You know, it will help with the tax burden because we're bringing in populations that are either young enough so they don't have that many school-age kids, or old enough so that their families are small again, and, you know, those are all really important things.
And the other thing, I mean, there's any number of people that I know who've left town to go to seniors, over 55 communities, because they aren't here.
Right.
And, you know.
Well, Crystal Springs sold pretty fast. I mean, those
Yeah.
all, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's the campground to me.
No, so,
The Bings did
Brian,
that.
going back to your point, I agree, and I think it's critical, those things are they're so long, I have an exceptionally hard time reading them, so I feel it's
Yeah.
gonna, when we do have them in, we're definitely gonna need to have them in. I feel it's important that we all do our best to understand what it is, and then we also have to have questioning, you know, along these lines, you know, help, you know, either it's coaching them to, you know, put it in this format, which is what I was saying. Do you have something lined up for the marijuana one? Again, good or bad, whether you agree or disagree on these things, right? From a numbers capacity. And then finally, also thinking of questions of, to me, these types of things can have, you know, long-lasting impact down the road. So trying to see how this might impact, not just now, but down the road. And I don't know how we
And
formulate
if they could have a
questions on
concise
that.
summary too, because
Yeah.
to your point, 30 pages of zoning, you're
Right,
like,
no, a summary that
you
says,
know, like some
this is
bullet
why we're
points.
having it, this, and then
Yeah.
explaining what the,
Right, in clear in like
clear language.
basic language, not, you know,
What this
legalese,
does.
whatever,
What this
right.
does.
What this
Well,
means.
I'll admit, when we do go through
Oh,
the
it's
budget,
mind numbing.
Yeah.
when we're going article by article and we're approving, I am generally just focusing on the summary.
Yeah, well,
Right,
especially
and then when-
those, I mean.
and then when they stand up and they say, the Bolton Planning Board having held a duly
Yes.
constituted meeting on da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
And
You
then
know,
read the whole thing and
Yeah.
everybody's like, I don't even know what this
Yeah.
is.
But I think they're open to trying to bring a little flash and glitz and glam to their presentation. And I think maybe one of the things when they meet with us is if we have like the projector, like we did that one
Right.
time, and we kind of have it like present to us the way you maybe would at town meeting.
And we
it
give you
turns into a
feed- you
working
can give them
meeting to,
feedback.
like, yeah,
Yes.
hone the message.
I think that's a
The
good
other thing
idea.
that would be helpful on some of that stuff is that there are other cottage overlay districts in other communities where you could actually show visuals. This is what it looks like.
I think
Yeah, I
they
think
did,
they
they
have.
have done
I think
that
they
in the
Concord.
past. Yep,
Concord
I
has one
remember
that they
seeing
used
those.
as a model and nice photos.
yeah, they do, they look nice.
And because people can't comprehend what it is.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, this is along the exact same lines of what we were just talking about a couple minutes ago with the fire department.
Well, they're
Right?
building,
You're asking for X.
Yeah.
You have to show us what you presently have. You have to show us the gap that's missing and why this particular fire truck will fill that gap, right?
And
It's the same thing, like whether we're talking about a piece of land, whether we're talking about a concept of an overlay, it's all of that.
And the other thing that I
cottages
used to,
over on Sugar Road. Those.
That's a 40B.
That's a
it's 40.
40B.
Yes, the other thing I used to do when I brought stuff to towns was I would also have the worst questions that could be answered. And the worst questions you'd be asked, the ones you don't want to answer. And I'd actually have a 1 or 2 sentence response to them. And then I'd basically create that into a fact sheet.
Right, you get in
that
front of it
people get.
before somebody surprises you on town meeting
Yeah,
floor
like
with it.
playing devil's advocate.
So
I
you
think that's a
basically
great
have
idea.
those talking points, because what happens is people don't read, get too nervous. So if you have that developed into a soundbite that is very straightforward, very calm, you know, it tends to get the crowd a little less
So,
up.
all right, so we'll forego next week. We'll reconvene on the 31st. I told you guys, I'm actually not gonna, I'm on a business trip the 30th as well as the 6th, so it's gonna be a while before I see you guys. So, you know, what, I'll work with Linda, we'll lay out the next couple weeks, but we'll
And
plan
if
for,
that has to accommodate your schedule, it's not a big deal.
Maybe meet next
Yeah.
week and take off the weekend. Not here.
but the problem is, I don't know if I can pull an agenda that's worthy of us.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll stay
Just-
tuned.
Yeah, I gotta,
We're that worthy.
but yeah.
He likes us.
Yeah, it's, you know, not wasting your time and whoever we end up having in. Yeah, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.